Skip and Shannon are on Undisputed. Today we're going to be talking about a topic of LeBron James in the clutch, dishing out to teammates and other clutch players in the history of the NBA. We can see how these two always go back and forth when it comes to the subject of LeBron James. We have Skip Bayless, who's been critical of LeBron, sometimes very fair, sometimes to an extent of entertainment media for the past decade or probably a little further from then, but mostly for a decade. Shannon Sharp's been new in the game for the last 3 to 4 years in 2016 after the Cavs won a championship and Skip Bayless left First Take. So now we have these two together 4 years later. Now we're going to be talking about LeBron James and his teammates in the clutch
important play this season was selected over the weekend, and the Lakers' play came early in the season. In just the fifth game, LA was trailing against the Mavericks when LeBron found Danny Green in the corner to hit a game-tying three to force overtime. And Shannon, I know you remember this play. What did it tell you?
Well, it showed that LeBron trusted his teammates early on. Skip, even if Danny Green misses that shot, it shows that LeBron is not willing to force something. Clearly, this is something, there's nothing,
Real quick, let me get my quick take in before Shan Sharp continues here. Whenever it comes to LeBron James and the clutches we've seen him and the most confident and organic and fluid he's been was in the 2018 finals. His last stunt with the Cleveland Cavaliers, whenever he was playing against the Pacers and the Raptors, he had 2 game winners. And he was playing against teammates with him like Jeff Green, you had Jose Calderon, some of these lower levels. You still had Kevin Love in the mix, but yeah, we won't go too much into there. But LeBron James, he was very confident. Narratives were changing within him. That was his 5th or 6th game winners and buzzer beaters in the playoffs throughout his whole tenure. 2 more than Kobe as well as Michael Jordan. So a lot of people are putting that narrative to where LeBron is clutch now. But we've seen throughout the years with LeBron James, he has a couple game winners, around 20 or so, because he's played for 17 years. Ball always in his hands. Whenever it comes to LeBron, in the big moments, he's hit or miss. He likes to play things very conservatively as a quote-unquote point forward or point guard, to where whenever he's being double-teamed, he will kick it out. Always looks like to LeBron, Skip Bayless has been right to where LeBron doesn't like to drive in, go up the layup, which he's really known for and good at in the earlier games in the first 3 quarters. But when it comes to the fourth quarter, LeBron James is a high 60%, lower 70 free throw percent shooter. We've seen on multiple occasions miss at the line late at games. I will give him credit when it comes to late playoff games or in the finals. LeBron James has hit those clutch free throws to pretty much secure championships or some playoff wins. I will give it to him. But whenever it comes to the regular season, LeBron is very hesitant. He doesn't have that killer mentality or that trust in his jump shot, or even if he goes for a game winner and misses, this is something to where he needs to take more attempts. Now, of course, it's the right move to pass it whenever you're being double teamed or you're driving and kick it out to an open jumper. But LeBron's mentality is that number one. Number 2 should be, he shouldn't think of that as first. LeBron is 6'8", 6'9", 270. He should drive to the rim. That's the easiest to where he can make any points. We've seen in the 2020 All-Star game to where they didn't have a time limit at the very end. LeBron had 3 or 4 occasions to where he missed 2 or 3 potential game winners. He was very hesitant. He couldn't get his own shot off. It was very cringy, and that's sometimes in the late moments, it is pretty cringy with LeBron James. I'm not going to admit. I'm a LeBron fan. For the past, since he started his career, I've always been a fan of LeBron James. But when it comes to the late moments, it's not fluid within his game. It's very stagnant, and as well as it could be cringy. But he does have those kind of rare moments to where he'll hit a big shot or buzzer beater.
You've heard the saying that
he's never
I
been
love it when a
consistent
plan comes together. You work on something, and I've been in situations where we work on a play, and we never run it. We never get an opportunity to run it in the game. But then we don't, we start working on that play, and then Mike would call it 5-6 weeks later. Skip, when you work on something and it comes out just like you planned it, there's no greater feeling. Now, I can assure you they've worked on this play time and time again. Not necessarily that week, but I'm sure in the course of training camp at some point, they worked on this play. But it just goes to show you that LeBron is willing to trust his teammates. Because, Skip, up until that point, Danny Green had I think he had taken 1 shot in the fourth quarter. 1 shot. And for LeBron to say, you know what? We're going to sink or swim with this play. I'm going to survey it. I'm going to try to buy some time. And everybody has to do their job. Now, Skip, the 2-minute report did come out. Dwight Howard did get a little tug on Seth Curry to slow him just enough that Danny Green was able to pop free. But when you run a play and it comes out and it works to perfection, and that's what makes LeBron so unique. LeBron is unswayed whether the guy makes or misses a shot because he understands we're running this play with the hopes that he's going to make it. But I can't base
I'm just looking at Skip Bayless's face. Hold on. I already know what Shannon Sharp's going to finish off with. I want to hear Skip
win
Bayless.
Streak that set the tone for the year. And they did it against a team that I think has been the surprise, you could argue, of all of basketball, but certainly of the Western Conference, the Dallas Mavericks, especially at home with Luka and Porzingis. Now, what I remember about that night was that happened to be the night I was in Oklahoma City at my high school, Northwest Classen High School, getting honored. So it's the one LeBron game this year that I wasn't able to watch until the bitter end. So I'm checking my phone. I'm checking my phone through the ceremony, and I see Dallas is up, 10 with 9:18 left. And I'm thinking, man, at home, the Mavericks probably got this one. I did not get to see what happened in that stretch down to, 6.4 seconds left. But in that stretch, in the fourth quarter, Luka and Porzingis combined to go 0 of 6 from the field. And in that stretch, I saw the highlight or low light. Dwight Howard got away with roughing up Luka on a loose ball. I think he got him with the forearm. And I think the book on Luka, who you say is the next Larry Bird, baloney, the book on Luka is to get physical with him because he will shy from physicality. And Dwight really got physical with him, and he seemed a little woozy and a little shaky the rest of the game. And Kuzma said after the game that their game plan was to pass it to whoever Luka was guarding because he couldn't guard any of them. So the guy that you say is the next Larry Bird can't defend. I don't know. That's a whole conversation for another day. But Luka and
Larry Bird, very underrated defender, very underrated, as well as he's underrated all time. I've always put him as a number 6 all time best player of who's ever played in the NBA.
Porzingis, they both shrank down the stretch, which allowed LeBron and company to come back, creep back into the game. So now we get down to they're still down 3 with 6.4 seconds left. So.
All right, we know how this ends. LeBron kicks it out to Danny Green.
Right to the rim, and at the last second, he looks and he kicks it into the corner to Danny Green. It wasn't a great pass by LeBron's best passer in basketball standards. It was low. Danny Green had to catch it. Go look. He has to catch it down at his knees. It's not a pocket pass where it's right here, catch and shoot. It's down at the knees. Now, you just brought it up. What if? No. These are boulder picking. This isn't nits. These are boulders. Dwight Howard gets away with, they run a little pick play over on the far side, away from the ball, and Dwight just reaches out and grabs hold of Seth Curry's jersey and just tugs on it, and it pulls him backwards. If he doesn't do that, and Seth Curry is free to run with Danny Green to the corner, LeBron's going to be stuck under the basket with all dressed up and nowhere to go. I mean, he's going to look. I don't know where he's going to go with the basketball because you're done. You got to get it back past the three-point line or you're not even going to get a shot to tie the game. And he is so blessed that at this point, Danny did flash open enough to be able to catch the ball. And then Danny had the wherewithal, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, I know where this is going. So the question is it's talking about their best play for the Los Angeles Lakers was whenever LeBron James kicked it to Danny Green against the Dallas Mavericks, which the Mavericks were at home, and Danny Green tied it to go into overtime, which the Lakers did then go win on. They did win the game after that. LeBron did dominate in overtime. Whenever it comes to LeBron James and his clutchness, he likes to drive in and kick it. He's not very comfortable shooting those last shots. LeBron's only comfortable shooting last shots, like three-pointers or going to the rim, or any jumpers of any kind whenever the game's already tied. Now, whenever the Cavaliers or whatever team he's on is down 1 or 2, LeBron's very more hesitant to kick it out and pass it. But again, guys, just rewatch this. Look at different highlights. Whenever the game is tied, LeBron is more comfortable because he doesn't have any stress. There's no worries if he misses the shot. It's more of an advantage to him, more of a reward to risk. But whenever he's down 1 or 2, we barely see any highlights of LeBron winning the game. Based off it's more on layups whenever he does that. Whenever he was on Cleveland or Miami against the Pacers in the conference finals, game 1. But and as well as the Magic, whenever he hit a fadeaway 3. But besides that, there's fairly to less any game winners unless the game has already been tied. But that's the thing with LeBron. When we see Kobe and Jordan, the games they were down by 2 or 1, and they always went with the game-winning shot. Didn't really look to kick it out unless it was actually, oblivious to where you had 2 people on them. Let alone sometimes they even made those shots as well. But LeBron, he likes to play more passive as a point guard. I think would be better within him if he actually focused on scoring, number one, because he's built to be a scorer. He may have a quote-unquote high IQ. I will debate that, but that's another topic for another day within LeBron. But, this is something we'll have to see more and more. We saw him in 2018 playoffs. He finally got his groove. He looked like a different offensive player, the best of all time for his own 17 years. And then back into 2020, the next season, when he was on the Lakers, we didn't see any clutch performances, barely. He was actually choking a lot with free throws and late game shots. Oh, my bad. That was in 2019. Now into 2020, he's been here or there. We need to see a little more whenever LeBron. He hasn't been consistent when it comes to his clutchness, quote unquote. But he does have a lot of game winners. He's been playing in the game 17 seasons. He's been in top-notch shape, so he's going to get those opportunities. But overall, I think LeBron needs to work on his free throws. That's number one, and drive to the rim especially. But we'll see when it comes to the playoffs. See if LeBron can pull off any clutch shots to maybe win any finals games. But that's something that's always been somewhat of a detriment to LeBron James and the clutchness of his legacy.